our Blessed Hope Bible study. Why do some believers reject the pre-tribulation rapture? So, I was actually going to save this particular part of the study for the very end of this whole series, but I thought that maybe I should share it early on in this series because you might be having questions thinking about, well, what about what this or this person said regarding the rapture and the tribulation? So I want to go over why is it that some believers reject the pre-tribulation rapture. First of all, unbelievers laugh at and mock the idea of a rapture, which is quite interesting because some of these same people might believe in alien abductions, alternative universes, and other such wild things. They simply don't want to admit that they are sinners and that God's wrath on a predominantly unbelieving world is coming. But even some believers don't want to admit to just how vile man's flesh is and how that judgment is going to come upon unbelievers. They want to believe that God never has righteous anger or that he will righteously judge all people. They don't want to believe that. Many of these same people reject the believer's judgment seat of Christ as well, in which believers are judged on the sound doctrine in our inner man, or the lack thereof, that we have actually believed and then yielded ourselves over to obey. They want to talk themselves into walking after the flesh instead of walking in the Spirit. So they reject the teachings about the judgment seat of Christ. And that's sort of a slightly different topic. Universalists want to believe that everyone is saved and that they and everyone else will never be accountable. And they don't want to believe that God will send unbelievers into a literal eternal lake of fire. But they really must read their Bibles with their eyes closed if they read it at all. Others don't understand the differences between prophecy and mystery. They don't rightly divide the scriptures, and so they think that there will be believers that will have to go through the tribulation period. They have no understanding of eternal security, and thus they also have no real hope. They are trusting in their own fleshly efforts to, quote, endure and to maintain their own salvation. This means that they are legalistic, putting themselves and others under law, which only stirs up their sin nature even more. Other believers simply hate the pre-tribulation rapture because they fear that they will be left behind. And the reason why they think that way is because they have not been established in foundational grace doctrine, so they don't understand eternal security. Then others hate the pre-tribulation rapture teachings because they might have loved ones that are unsaved, and so it feels too painful for them to think about those loved ones might be left behind if they never get saved before the rapture happens. Therefore, they might reject the teaching of the rapture and or the teachings about the tribulation period entirely. Some of them think all the stuff in the book of Revelation already happened in the past. But they are missing out on having true hope in their inner man because the teachings of the pre-tribulation rapture actually produces hope within us. So what should we do about those who preach against the pre-tribulation rapture? Paul tells us, avoid them. They are trying to overthrow your faith. 2 Timothy 2:16 through 18 says, but shun profane and vain babblings, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. and their word will eat as doth a canker, of whom is Hymenaeus and Philetus, who concerning the truth have erred, saying that the resurrection is past already, and overthrow the faith of some. So this means we are not to watch their videos on YouTube or follow their posts on social media or attend their in-person Bible studies or, read their blog posts or whatever it is, their books, whatever. Romans chapter 16 verse 17 says, "Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them." If you find yourself continually checking their social media or listening to what they have to say on YouTube, or even just going on YouTube and seeing what the titles of the names of their newest videos are, you are more than likely actually doing it from your flesh. That's a fleshly thing. So, put off the old man and walk in the Spirit instead, which means to be busy with your own personal Bible studies and with the work of the ministry. Put your attention more on sound grace doctrine and teaching it to others, rather than worrying so much about what others are teaching and saying and doing. They will continue to try and bait you and to argue and debate with you and to bite and devour you, because their goal is to overthrow your faith, as well as essentially to attack the grace message, attack the messenger, and to discredit the messenger. That's the strategy of Satan's policy of evil against us. Remember that debate comes from the flesh. Romans 1:29 says, "Being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers." And Galatians 5:15 says, "But if ye bite and devour one another, take heed that ye be not consumed one of another."